The Jobulan Confederation's announcement echoed across every communication channel in the known universe. High Chancellor Zizix's tentacles quivered as he delivered the most controversial edict in galactic history. Effective immediately, laughter is hereby banned throughout Confederation space. Collective gasps rippled through billions of worlds. On Earth, humans stared at their screens in disbelief, jaws hanging open. This measure, Zizix continued, his eye stalks pulsating with what passed for seriousness in his species, is necessary to maintain galactic productivity and order. Our studies show that laughter leads to a 47.3% decrease in efficiency across all sentient races. We can no longer afford such frivolity. In New York City, stand-up comedian Lena Quips nearly choked on her coffee. They've got to be kidding, right? She spluttered, looking around at her equally stunned colleagues in the dingy backstage area of the Chuckle Hut. But it was no joke. Within hours, Confederation enforcers began their crackdown. Comedy clubs across the galaxy were shuttered. Humor-inducing substances were outlawed. Even smiling too broadly could earn a citizen a stern warning. On Rigel 7, the Guffaw Games, an Olympic-style competition of wit and wordplay, ended in chaos as heavily armed troops stormed the arena. Competitors fled, their one-liners dying on their lips. "This is madness," roared Zokthor, the reigning champion from the methane swamps of Epsilon Eridani. His protestation was cut short by a swift application of the new anti-mirth device, leaving the seven-armed jokester in a state of humorless compliance. Back on Earth, governments scrambled to respond. The United Nations convened an emergency session, debating whether to comply with the Confederation's demands or risk intergalactic conflict. President Ador Nwosu addressed a tense global audience. "My fellow Earthlings, we face an unprecedented crisis. The very essence of our humanity is under threat. But I assure you, we will not take this lying down." As she spoke, reports flooded in of underground resistance movements forming across the planet. In Paris, the Louvre's Mona Lisa mysteriously vanished, replaced by a crude stick figure drawing with an exaggerated frown. Street artists in Sao Paulo painted massive murals depicting scenes from classic comedies, their work hidden under holographic camouflage. Lena Quips found herself thrust into an unexpected role. As Confederation patrols scoured New York for signs of illicit humor, she huddled with a group of comedians in a secret basement beneath the Chuckle Hut. "Listen up, you beautiful, funny bastards," she whispered fiercely. "They may take our stages, but they'll never take our laughter. We're going underground, way underground. Spread the word. Operation Tickle Fight begins at dawn." Across the table, veteran comic buck Guffaw nodded grimly. "I never thought I'd see the day when telling a knock-knock joke could get you vaporized. But here we are, planning a rebellion armed with nothing but our wits and a whoopee cushion." A nervous titter ran through the group, quickly stifled as heavy footsteps passed overhead. They froze, hardly daring to breathe, until the sound faded. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Pentagon, a classified meeting was underway. General Chuckles, a code name he now bitterly regretted, laid out humanity's options to a room full of grim-faced officials. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at 3 scenarios," he said, clicking through his presentation. 1. We comply and kiss comedy goodbye. 2. We fight, likely getting our asses handed to us by superior alien tech. Or 3. He paused for effect. We weaponize humor on a scale never before seen in the universe. Stunned silence filled the room, broken only by a lone voice from the back. "You mean we're going to kill them with kindness?" General Chuckles allowed himself the ghost of a smile. "No, Dr. Ravi. We're going to kill them with laughter." As the implication sank in, a plan began to take shape. Earth would become a bastion of hilarity, a planetary-scale comedy club with humanity's survival as the ultimate punchline. In the Oval Office, President Nwosu signed a classified executive order. Operation ROFL, Resistance Through Outrageous Farcical Laughter, was now in effect. The fate of human humor, and perhaps humanity itself, hung in the balance. Little did Earth know, but their response to the laughter ban would soon send shockwaves across the galaxy. forever changing the cosmic order. The stage was set for a confrontation unlike any other in the history of the universe. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, an ancient race stirred, awakened by the first ripples of Earth's defiant chuckle. The Confederation's laughter ban hit Earth like a wet fish to the face, shocking, absurd, and leaving everyone spluttering in disbelief. But humans, as they often do, adapted with a speed that would have impressed even the most jaded alien observers, if any had been paying attention. Within days, a vast underground network sprouted across the globe. Comedy clubs transformed into productivity enhancement centers by day, complete with dour-faced attendants and mind-numbing PowerPoint presentations on efficient stapler use. But as night fell, hidden panels slid open, revealing secret stages where laughter thrived in defiance of galactic law. Lena Quips found herself at the heart of New York's resistance. The Chuckle Hut's basement had become a veritable fortress of funny, accessible only through a series of ridiculously complex secret handshakes and passwords. "All right, you giggle gorillas," Lena addressed the assembled comics one night. "We've got some new material to workshop. Remember, if the Confeed goons bust in, we're just a very enthusiastic book club discussing. Buck, what's our cover this week?" Buck Guffaw consulted a crumpled note. "Apparently, we're really into 18th century agrarian business practices and their impact on modern sock darning techniques." A collective groan rippled through the room. "Hey, don't blame me," Buck shrugged. "Blame our new head of boring cover stories, Dr. Ravi over there." Dr. Ravi, the Pentagon's foremost expert in xenobiology and now, apparently, excruciatingly dull literature, offered a sheepish wave. "It's effectively soporific. No alien enforcer will stay awake long enough to suspect us of illicit mirth." Lena rolled her eyes. "Great. Now let's get down to business. Who's got some new bits?" A lanky teenager named Zip raised his hand. "I've been working on some anti-gravity puns. They're pretty uplifting." The room collectively winced. "Zip, buddy," Lena sighed. "We're trying to save humor, not murder it. Anyone else?" As the comics shared their latest material, honing their craft in this pressure cooker of forbidden fun, similar scenes played out across the globe. In Tokyo, a group of salary men and women filed into what appeared to be yet another soul-crushing overtime session. But behind the bland corporate facade, the Salaryman Satire Society was perfecting the art of deadpan delivery. Parisian mimes took their art to new heights, conveying entire stand-up routines without making a sound. The silent but deadly troupe became underground legends, their performances a masterclass in physical comedy and subtle resistance. Even in the heart of Silicon Valley, tech giants repurposed their vast server farms. By day, they crunched mundane data to appease Confederation auditors. By night, they became the backbone of the Quantum Quip Network, a secure communication system that disseminated jokes at light speed across the planet. But it wasn't just professional comedians keeping the flame of humor alive. Ordinary citizens found increasingly creative ways to spread laughter in the face of oppression. Bakeries began selling totally serious cakes, outwardly dour confections that, when cut, revealed hilarious messages or absurd images inside. Libraries established boring book clubs where members read aloud from phone books, their deadpan delivery punctuated by perfectly timed page malfunctions, revealing hidden comic strips. In schools, a new form of rebellion took root. Students developed an elaborate coded language, turning seemingly innocent phrases into subversive punchlines. "May I sharpen my pencil?" became the setup for a joke so legendary that merely uttering it could reduce a classroom to silent, shaking laughter. But as Earth's underground chuckle grew louder, it became harder to contain. Reports of humor outbreaks began to trickle in from around the world. In Rio de Janeiro, an entire beach erupted into hysterics when a seagull stole a Confederation enforcer's ludicrously oversized hat. The incident, caught on countless holo cameras, went viral across the planet's secret networks. A news anchor in Sydney couldn't contain a snort while reporting on the Galactic Productivity Initiative, setting off a chain reaction of stifled giggles that shut down the entire station for hours. Even the International Space Station wasn't immune. A zero-gravity pratfall during a routine maintenance operation left the entire crew incapacitated with silent, tear-streaming laughter for a full orbital pass. As these incidents multiplied, Confederation officials grew increasingly paranoid. Their enforcement efforts redoubled, but it was like trying to catch smoke with a net. The more they tightened their grip, the more Earth's irrepressible humor slipped through their fingers. In the Pentagon's secret comedy bunker, General Chuckles watched the reports flood in with a mixture of pride and anxiety. "It's working," he muttered to Dr. Ravi. "Earth is becoming one giant comedy pressure cooker. But how long before we blow our cover? And more importantly, are we ready for what comes next?" Dr. Ravi's normally serious face cracked into a mischievous grin. "Oh, we're ready all right. Operation Cosmic Tickle is primed and waiting. Those stuffy aliens won't know what hit them." As if on cue, a priority alert flashed across the main screen. The message was brief, but electrifying. Phase 2 authorized. Commence Operation ROFL. May God have mercy on our funny bones. General Chuckles took a deep breath. "Well, folks, this is it. The gloves are coming off, and the clown noses are going on. May the farce be with us." Across Earth, comedy-resistant cells received the coded signal. The time had come to take their act to the stars. Humanity was about to launch the greatest offensive in the history of humor, and the galaxy would never be the same. Little did they know, but their actions were about to awaken something ancient and powerful, an entity that had been waiting eons for just such a cosmic punchline. As Earth's underground comedy scene reached its boiling point, Operation ROFL shifted into high gear. The plan was audacious, perhaps even insane, but then again, so was banning laughter across an entire galaxy. Lena Quips found herself aboard the HSS Punchline, Earth's first stealth comedy cruiser. The ship's exterior mimicked a drab Confederation freighter, but its interior was decked out like a state-of-the-art comedy club. If said club had also been designed by mad scientists with a flair for the dramatic. "All right, you beautiful lunatics," Lena addressed her crew of elite comics. "We're about to boldly go where no joke has gone before. Our mission, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and make them laugh their asses OFF." A cheer went up, quickly stifled as old habits died hard. Buck Guffaw, now sporting a ridiculously oversized fake mustache, part disguise, part sight gag, chimed in, "Remember folks, we're not just trying to be funny. We're fighting for the very soul of the universe." Dr. Ravi, who had insisted on joining the mission for science, nodded sagely. "Indeed, our research suggests that many alien species have humor receptors they've never even used. We're about to give them one hell of a workout." As the punchline slipped past Earth's defensive perimeter, similar ships were launching from secret bases around the globe. The Guffaw, the Tickle Me Elmo, and the unimaginatively named Really Funny Spaceship Number 5 all set course for different sectors of Confederation space. Their strategy was simple, yet brilliant. Each ship would target a different alien world, infiltrate its population centers, and unleash a comedy blitzkrieg the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. The punchline's first target, Zorblax Prime, a world of hyperlogical beings who made Vulcans look positively whimsical. As they approached the planet, Lena gathered her team for a final briefing. "All right, here's what we know about Zorblaxian physiology. They have 3 funny bones located in their elbows, knees, and, well, let's just say you don't want to know where the third one is. Our job is to tickle all of them." The ship landed under cover of night, disguised as a routine trade delegation. As dawn broke over Zorblax Prime's capital city, Operation Chuckle and Roll began. Zip, the young pun master, struck first. He approached a group of Zorblaxians engaged in their morning ritual of logical contemplation. "Excuse me," he said, his face a mask of innocence. "I'm looking for the anti-gravity restaurant on this street." The Zorblaxians blinked their 3 eyes in confusion. "There is no such establishment in this vicinity," one replied stiffly. Zip grinned. "Oh, that's a shame. I've heard their food is out of this world, but there's just no atmosphere." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a dam breaking, one Zorblaxian let out a snort. It looked as shocked by the sound as its companions. Another Zorblaxian's face twitched, fighting a losing battle against a smile. Across the city, similar scenes unfolded. Buck Guffaw set up a pratfall routine in the busiest market square, his exaggerated tumbles drawing crowds of bewildered aliens. Dr. Ravi, to everyone's surprise, turned out to be a master of physical comedy, his malfunctioning translator act reducing a group of Zorblaxian scientists to helpless giggles. But it was Lena who delivered the coup de grace. Sneaking into the planet's central broadcast station, she hijacked the airwaves for an impromptu stand-up special. "Good morning, Zorblax Prime. Is it just me? Or is the artificial gravity a little heavy today? I feel like I've gained 20 pounds. And that's before I tried your local cuisine." Across the planet, Zorblaxians found themselves laughing for the first time in their lives. The sound was alien, frightening, and utterly addictive. Within hours, the planet was in the grip of a full-blown laughter epidemic. The Confederation's emergency response team arrived to find the entire population in various states of hilarity. Even the stern-faced enforcers found themselves cracking smiles as the irrepressible wave of humor washed over them. As the punchline made its escape, leaving chaos and joy in its wake, similar reports came in from across the galaxy. The Guffaw had turned a warlike species into pacifists by introducing them to the concept of the practical joke. The Tickle Me Elmo sparked a revolution on a world of touch telepaths with a rousing game of Got Your Nose. But it was the really funny Spaceship Number 5 that made the most shocking discovery. On a remote world at the edge of known space, they encountered a race of beings that seemed expectant, as if they had been waiting for this moment for eons. The ship's captain, a veteran comic named Chuckles McGee, sent a coded message back to Earth. "You're not going to believe this, but I think we just made first contact with the creators of comedy. And boy, do they have a bone to pick with the Confederation." As news of Earth's cosmic comedy tour spread, the galaxy found itself at a tipping point. The Confederation's ban on laughter was crumbling, but the real battle was just beginning. For in the depths of space, an ancient power stirred, a force that had seeded the very concept of humor throughout the universe, only to watch it be stifled and suppressed. Now, awakened by humanity's rebellious laughter, it prepared to re-enter the galactic stage. The universe held its breath, teetering between uncontrolled mirth and humorless order. And at the center of it all was humanity, armed with nothing but their wits and an arsenal of bad puns, about to face their greatest challenge yet. Little did they know, but the next act in this cosmic comedy was about to begin, and the stakes were higher than anyone could have imagined. The news of Earth's audacious comedy offensive spread through the galaxy faster than a cat video on the ancient internet. The Confederation's once-iron grip on its member worlds began to slip, leaving behind a trail of poorly stifled giggles and hastily hidden smirks. Back on Earth, in the Pentagon's now-christened Giggle Command, General Chuckles watched the galactic map with a mixture of pride and trepidation. Holographic planets pulsed with different colors, green for those fully embracing humor, yellow for worlds teetering on the edge of hilarity, and an angry red for the few remaining Confederation strongholds. "We've made more progress in 2 weeks than I thought possible," he mused, stroking his chin thoughtfully. "But the Confederation isn't going to take this lying down. We need to prepare for dash." His words were cut off by a sudden, ear-splitting alarm. The main screen flashed an urgent message. "Incoming transmission. Origin unknown." The room fell silent as a figure materialized on the screen. It was, well, indescribable. The being seemed to shift and change, as if it were made of pure laughter given form. When it spoke, its voice resonated with the mirth of 1,000 worlds. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Guffaw, the ancient guardians of galactic humor. For eons, we have watched and waited, seeding the concept of laughter throughout the cosmos. But never in all our existence have we encountered a species quite like yours." General Chuckles stepped forward, his voice surprisingly steady. "On behalf of Earth, I wait. Did you say you're called the Guffaw? Seriously?" The being's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Indeed, we find Earth's naming conventions delightful, but time is short. The Confederation's Supreme Council has enacted their final protocol, the Extinguisher. A collective gasp went up from the assembled humans. Dr. Ravi, who had just returned from the Punchline's mission, paled visibly. The extinguisher? But that's just a myth, a boogeyman story told to keep junior bureaucrats in line. The guffaw's form darkened. I assure you, it is all too real. A weapon capable of stripping the very capacity for joy from entire star systems. They plan to deploy it against Earth within the next solar rotation. General Chuckle's jaw set in a hard line. Then we'll just have to beat them to the punchline. Dr. Ravi, prep the punchline for immediate launch. We're taking the fight directly to the Confederation's doorstep. As Earth mobilized for its most daring mission yet, the HSS Punchline streaked across the stars, its crew a motley assortment of Earth's finest comedians and most brilliant minds. Lena Quips sat in the captain's chair, her usual smirk replaced by a look of grim determination. All right, folks, this is it. The grand finale. We've got one shot to stop the extinguisher and save the galaxy's sense of humor. Any ideas? Buck Guffaw raised his hand, his fake mustache now augmented by an equally ridiculous fake beard. I've got it. We challenged them to a dance-off. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Zip face-palming so hard he nearly concussed himself. Dr. Ravi cleared his throat. Perhaps a more scientific approach? Our scans show the extinguisher works by emitting a field that dampens neural receptors associated with humor and joy. If we could reverse the polarity, amplify the signal, and broadcast it back. Lena's eyes lit up. We could turn their weapon of mass depression into a laugh bomb. Doc, you're a genius. As the punchline approached the Confederation's heavily fortified homeworld, tensions ran high. The ship's cloaking device, powered by an improbability drive that ran on bad knock-knock jokes, barely held as they slipped past the outer defenses. There it is, Lena whispered, pointing at a massive satellite-like structure orbiting the planet. The extinguisher. Looks like they're powering it up for the attack on Earth. What followed was a scene that would have made even the most outlandish action movie directors blush. The punchline executed a series of maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics and good taste, all while Zip rattled off a stream of increasingly terrible puns to keep the improbability drive running. Brace for impact, Lena shouted as they rammed the punchline directly into the extinguisher's main emitter. Alarms blared, sparks flew, and for a moment, it seemed like all was lost. Then, Dr. Ravi's voice cut through the chaos. It's working. The polarity is reversing. We're about to broadcast the largest concentrated dose of humor the galaxy has ever seen. A blinding light engulfed the ship, spreading outward in a wave that washed over the Confederation homeworld and beyond. For a moment, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the planet below, came a sound. It started as a chuckle, grew into a laugh, and soon became a roar of unadulterated, uncontrollable mirth. The Confederation's Supreme Council, the very architects of the laughter ban, found themselves howling with laughter, tears streaming down their faces. As the wave spread across the galaxy, world after world erupted in joy. Species that had never known humor discovered the pleasure of a good belly laugh. Ancient enemies found themselves sharing jokes instead of insults. Aboard the battered punchline, Lena and her crew watched in awe as their improbable plan succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. We did it, she breathed, a grin spreading across her face. We actually did it. But even as they celebrated, a new transmission came through. The guffaw's form appeared, more solid and vibrant than before. Well done, humans. You have succeeded where we could not. But I'm afraid your greatest challenge still lies ahead. Lena's grin faltered. What do you mean? We just saved the galaxy's sense of humor. The guffaw's form rippled with what might have been a sigh. Indeed. And now, the galaxy looks to Earth as the new guardians of laughter. The question is, are you ready for an eternity of cosmic stand-up? As the implications sank in, Lena and her crew exchanged glances. They had won the battle, but the war for the galaxy's funny bone was just beginning. And somehow, they had a feeling their greatest material was yet to come. The aftermath of the Great Galactic Guffaw, as it came to be known, left the universe in a state of beautiful chaos. Worlds that had never known joy were now helpless with laughter. The Confederation's once rigid bureaucracy dissolved into a series of increasingly ridiculous committee meetings, each one ending in fits of giggles over the absurdity of their former rules. Earth, once a backwater planet barely noticed by the galactic community, suddenly found itself thrust into the spotlight as the savior of universal humor. The Punchline and its crew returned home to a hero's welcome, complete with ticker tape parades, key to the city ceremonies, and an overwhelming number of requests for stand-up tours across the cosmos. Lena Quips, now hailed as the goddess of galactic giggles, stood before the United Nations, addressing representatives from Earth and beyond. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of indeterminate gender or state of matter, she began, her voice carrying the weight of their newfound responsibility. We stand at the threshold of a new era. An era where laughter isn't just permitted, it's mandatory. A cheer went up from the assembled crowd, punctuated by the sound of several Zorblaxian delegates snorting uncontrollably. But with great humor comes great responsibility, Lena continued, her tone growing serious. The Guffaw have entrusted us with the preservation and cultivation of comedy throughout the universe. It's a task we must not take lightly, unless, of course, it's for a really good punchline. In the weeks that followed, Earth transformed into a cosmic comedy central. The planet buzzed with activity as it prepared to take on its new role. Some changes were practical. The establishment of the Intergalactic Comedy Academy, the conversion of missile silos into gigantic jack-in-the-boxes. Others were more creative. Dr. Ravi, in a stroke of genius or madness, proposed the Galactic Tickle Network, a series of satellites designed to broadcast Earth's finest comedy to the farthest reaches of space. Think of it as a laugh track for the universe, he explained to a bemused General Chuckles. Meanwhile, Buck Guffaw found himself leading a diplomatic mission to the far corners of the galaxy. His task, to introduce the concept of the pun to species whose languages had never before accommodated wordplay. It was a challenge he attacked with gusto, armed with nothing but his wits and an increasingly elaborate series of false facial hair. Zip, the young pun master, was dispatched to the former Confederation homeworld. His mission, to teach the art of self-deprecating humor to a species that had previously considered admitting error punishable by exile. His progress reports, filled with accounts of stuffy bureaucrats learning to laugh at themselves, became required reading in the newly established Ministry of Mirth. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Some worlds, long accustomed to the Confederation's humorless rule, struggled to adapt to the new laughter-filled reality. On these planets, underground movements of die-hard sourpusses formed, desperately trying to maintain straight faces in the face of overwhelming hilarity. It was on one such world that Lena faced her greatest challenge yet. The planet Glum, a dreary orb whose inhabitants prided themselves on their ability to find the cloud in every silver lining, resisted all attempts at comedic conversion. Standing before the Glum High Council, Lena unleashed every weapon in her comedic arsenal. Puns bounced off their stony faces. Physical comedy elicited nothing more than confused blinks. Even her surefire aristocrat's joke, modified for alien sensibilities, failed to crack a single smile. Just as all seemed lost, inspiration struck. Lena took a deep breath and launched into the most solemn, serious, and utterly boring monologue on Glum's economic policies that she could muster. 4 hours, she droned on about tax codes, regulatory frameworks, and the proper filing of Form X2-7B in triplicate. The Glum counselors leaned forward, enraptured. This finally was something they could appreciate. But as Lena's lecture reached its driest point, she suddenly switched gears, punctuating a particularly dense section of fiscal policy with an perfectly timed pratfall. The effect was electric. The contrast between the mind-numbing boredom and the sudden slapstick was too much for even the Glum to resist. A chuckle escaped one counselor, then another, until the entire chamber was roaring with laughter. As news of Glum's conversion spread, the last pockets of resistance across the galaxy crumbled. The universe had well and truly embraced its new laugh-filled existence. Years passed, and the golden age of galactic humor flourished. Earth's comedians traveled the stars, cross-pollinating jokes and spreading mirth to every corner of creation. New forms of comedy emerged, blending traditions from 1,000 worlds into hysterical new heights of hilarity. And yet, in quiet moments, Lena and her crew couldn't help but wonder. They had saved the galaxy's sense of humor. Yes, but at what cost? Had they simply replaced one form of tyranny with another, forcing laughter where once silence reigned? Their doubts were put to rest during the first intergalactic comedy festival. As Lena took the stage before an audience representing every known sentient species, she was struck by a profound realization. The faces looking back at her weren't just amused, they were united. In laughter, the beings of the galaxy had found a common language, a shared experience that bridged the vast gulfs between their worlds and cultures. As her set ended and the applause washed over her, Lena felt a presence materialize beside her. The guffaw, now a familiar sight at such gatherings, nodded in approval. "Well done, guardian of giggles," the ancient being said, its form shimmering with mirth. "You have not just preserved humor, you have elevated it. The galaxy laughs not because it must, but because it chooses to." Lena grinned, a twinkle in her eye. "Well, what can I say? Earth's always been good at universal domination. We just finally found a shtick that works." As the guffaw's laughter joined the cosmic chorus, Lena couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had taken on the universe armed with nothing but jokes and emerged victorious. And really, wasn't that the greatest punchline of all? In the end, as beings across the galaxy wiped tears of laughter from their eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, one truth became abundantly clear. In a universe of infinite possibilities, laughter truly was the best medicine. And humanity, for all its flaws, had become the ultimate doctors of mirth. And so, the cosmic comedy continued, with Earth leading the charge into a future filled with puns, pratfalls, and the endless pursuit of the perfect punchline. The galaxy would never be the same, and that, as any comedian worth their salt would tell you, was the whole point.